This is an image of Bill Shorten, an Australian politician that went viral this year. It says he plans to give green cards to all refugees. It's not true. Here's another image. It says Shorten's political party will force schools to teach gay education. Also not true. These images were shared ahead of the 2019 Australian election, not on Facebook or WhatsApp or Twitter. They were shared to WeChat, the fifth largest social media platform in the world. WeChat is ubiquitous in China, and it's playing a bigger and bigger role in democracies around the world, allowing a growing Chinese diaspora to share information and engage with local politics. But WeChat is also designed in a way that enables misinformation, censorship, and even hate speech. And it's joining a much larger conversation alongside Facebook, Twitter, and Google about how to regulate social media platforms once they've gone global. We're traveling around the world to understand how China is changing basically everything. This week, social media. I'm Isabelle Niu. You're watching Because China. This tune and loading screen are instantly recognizable to over 1 billion people around the world. In China, where most Western social media is banned, WeChat is essential. People use it to text each other, order food, hail rides, and pay for things. Outside of China, the diaspora uses it to connect with fellow Chinese speakers and issues in the country they're living in. This is a demonstration organized on WeChat that spanned more than 30 cities in the US. They were protesting against what they called an unfair prosecution of a Chinese-American police officer. Politicians have also jumped on the platform. Candidates in Canada, the US, and New Zealand have used the platform for campaigning. The best examples of this are probably in Australia, where ethnic Chinese voters are concentrated in several key districts.
With each election, the major political parties in Australia are becoming increasingly sophisticated in how they're targeting Chinese voters in Australia. And a lot of that outreach was on WeChat.
Fergus Ryan specializes in the use of Chinese social media platforms in Australia. He says the country's two major political parties embraced WeChat like never before in 2019. Candidates signed up for their own official accounts, conducted live Q&As in WeChat groups with hundreds of people at a time, and distributed political messages on the platform. It was politicians successfully engaging with a racial minority ahead of a contested election, something that can be hard to find in even the healthiest democracies. But then, of course, there was all this. Many fake stories were viewed over 100,000 times, despite being debunked by credible media outlets. And this is because WeChat has some fundamental problems. To start, the majority of publishers on WeChat are so-called self-media, essentially individuals or media startups publishing exclusively on WeChat. Basically, anyone can sign up for a public subscription account and push articles to subscribers. These accounts are similar to Facebook pages or Twitter handles, and only a small portion are legitimate news sites. And it's hard to tell the difference. The personal timeline only shows headlines of articles.
Essentially, the platform incentivizes these news handles to exaggerate or fearmonger or invent an angle to get people to click on the headline.
Mia Lee is a researcher at Yale University.
Okay.
She says, similar to Facebook and YouTube, the main driver behind WeChat's fake news problem is revenue. These self-media are incentivized to aggregate news and put a sensational spin on it to attract followers and advertisers. Here's the type of political headlines you see on Australian public accounts.
That sort of transnational flow of hate speech, of Islamophobic content, is finding new audiences all over the world.
Another design feature unique to WeChat makes the problem even worse. While Facebook and Twitter generally allow publishers to post links that take users to other websites, WeChat bans most publishers from embedding hyperlinks in articles. This means pretty much everything is self-contained on the platform. It's hard to find the original source material and debunk it. In Australia, the Labour Party blamed misinformation on WeChat for hurting their campaign.
There are very serious and concerning reports, deeply concerning reports, about fake news, malicious content being circulated on the Chinese media platform WeChat.
The Labour Party, which eventually lost the election, found these posts so alarming that they sent a letter urging Tencent, the parent company of WeChat, to clean up fake news on the app. Tencent didn't issue any public response. They also didn't respond to our interview request. WeChat has suspended some accounts for fear-mongering, but experts say it's a drop in the bucket. And it's unclear exactly what, if anything, the Australian government can do to impose regulations on a Chinese-owned platform.
And Australian law, just like law in many other parts of the world, is ill-equipped to deal with the problem.
Others are taking a slightly different approach, going after the people in Australia making money off of spreading disinformation on WeChat.
The only thing I can do here to help myself as well as the public is to make a point to say you can't just spread this information like this as a media outlet and let people know that, WeChat is not above law.
This is Vicky Xu. Earlier this year, she reported on a pro-China protest in Sydney that turned violent. It triggered a flood of negative WeChat articles about her. Some even exposed her personal information.
They basically described me as a racist person, a college dropout, and just completely ignored my qualifications. None of these outlets reached out to me.
This incident has changed Xu's life. She's received death threats and rape threats and has needed bodyguards at a few public events. Xu is preparing to take legal actions against some individuals and media outlets based in Australia. These accounts typically register with Chinese phone numbers but are operated remotely. It's uncertain if she has a strong enough case, even though the same stories published on an Australian news site would be against the law. Xu says identifying the culprits has been hard.
Their operations are sort of so underground, sometimes we can't even find a physical address to the outlets. It was so much work. All these outlets are pumping out information in very, very large quantities. Yeah, in the short term, I don't see a solution.
Battles like this are playing out around the world as governments and citizens push global giants, mostly based in the US, to comply with local laws. WeChat is based in China, and that poses another concern: censorship. While misinformation runs rampant, one story is curiously not present on WeChat: criticism of the Chinese government.
The server for WeChat is within the Chinese border, so they're subject to the censorship. They take orders from the cyberspace administration.
Fang Kecheng studies censorship and says these regulations require WeChat to remove politically sensitive speech in articles, images, and even private groups, no matter who's publishing them or from where.
And the Communist Party can ask WeChat to censor any information.
I don't know exactly which post triggered the censorship.
Yang Han has lived in Australia for 20 years. He said WeChat suspended his account twice this year. He thinks it's because he posted this photo in some private groups. The first time, WeChat gave no notice or explanation.
You just have to find out yourself that your message is not getting through to anybody in any chat group. No warning at all.
The second time, WeChat quoted violation of terms and conditions, but didn't clarify what triggered the ban. So Yang wrote to his parliament member and the consumer protection authorities.
Basically, their response is there's not much they can do because WeChat is based in China and they have to comply with Chinese law.
Even publishers based outside of China, like Wu Bofeng, are abiding by it. Wu works for one of the largest WeChat public accounts in Australia. She asked us not to say which one.
先看人民日报，然后像新华社，卫星的审查机制，我们希望我们必须存活下去，政治红线自然不能碰上。
Earlier this year, it was reported that TikTok, which is owned by another Chinese company, ByteDance, has been accused of censoring content that Beijing deems sensitive, though the company denies it. As Chinese platforms go global, they're connecting Chinese speakers around the world. But they're also spreading misinformation and censorship to their users, no matter where they live. And so far, there's been little to challenge this.
Western platforms like Facebook and Twitter, they've really had to be dragged kicking and screaming to the point they are at now. And so, there's plenty of potential opportunity for Tencent to follow their lead, but unfortunately at the moment we haven't seen much indication of that happening.
I think it is important to start a conversation, how do we basically protect our Chinese-speaking diaspora community from fake news, from disinformation, to better educate them and inform them so that they can actually enjoy their time living in a democracy.
You're watching a Quartz member exclusive. This story is a part of our series, Because China. Keep watching for more stories about how China is changing everything, from music to tourism to trash.